financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. This is segment 3 of a 3-part case study on the Hudson family. The first segment we talked about and focused on William and Mary. Those were the parents, the grandparents, and their financial problem. They were a retired couple. They had $85,000 of credit card debt. They were underwater in their house, and we addressed how to solve their problem. And the solution was with the Chapter 13 and drawing down of their income so that they could save their $400,000 IRA and have it stretch out so that the funds were going to be available for the rest of their lives. In the second segment, we shifted to their kids, Rick and Sandy, who had good income of $145,000 a year. They were slightly underwater in their house. They had 401ks of around $250,000, but they had a $125,000 credit card problem. And what we did in the second segment is we analyzed and concluded that even though Rick and Sandy would be eligible for a Chapter 13, it wasn't a good result because they would have to pay back around $129,000 on their credit cards, which would be self-defeating, seem as though they only owed about $125,000 on the credit cards. So the conclusion was, for Rick and Sandy, we wanted to put them into debt resolution. And when we left off at the end of the second segment, we concluded that based upon the credit cards that they had, we anticipate that we would have to spend $40,000 on the settlements to resolve the $125,000 of credit card debt. And we took the analysis to that point, and we ran out of time. So now in this segment, we're going to finish up the debt resolution analysis because that's not the whole story. Anytime you do a plan, you have to look at what is the total cost, what is the time frame, and are there any tax consequences that you have to address? And if so, what are they? And then at that point, you can reach a conclusion. Is it a good deal or is it a good deal?
Well, let's start off before we go into that, reminding our listeners and our viewers of what the cost in the Chapter 13 was so that they have a comparison. If we were going to put Rick and Sandy into a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, they were going to pay $2,158 a month for 60 months, which is roughly $129,000 over 5 years, into their Chapter 13. We've concluded that through debt resolution, Rick and Sandy are going to be able to pay their credit card companies around $40,000 to make that $125,000 worth of debt go away. But as we all know, the world isn't free.
So there's more costs. So now,
hold on, Ken, before we get into it. And the other thing is the timing. It's a 5-year plan under the Chapter 13, and what we're going to get into is when we analyze it, how much shorter can we make the $40,000 credit card payment resolution? And we'll find it's drastically shorter with debt resolution.
Very good point, both you guys. All right, here's the legal cost. The cost that we charge to do debt resolution is an 8.5% fee of the aggregate amount of the debt. So in this case, you take $125,000, you multiply it by 8.5%. We take that fee over time depending on the financial circumstance of the client, but we put the 8.5% number out there. Now, the thing to know about it, just to give you the quick lines on it, is that's a flat fee that covers everything. If the client gets sued, that covers defending them in the lawsuit. There's no hidden service fees. There's no hidden costs. There's no surprises.
You mean those other companies?
That settlement companies don't work that way.
They don't represent you when you get sued?
They don't represent you when they get sued. They don't have lawyers working on your account.
So on page 32 of their retainer agreement, it actually says, we're not lawyers and you get sued, good luck.
Correct. Our retainer agreement is 2 pages, okay? And it's it's 12-point font.
Short
Theirs
and
is
sweet.
32 pages, and it's 8-point font. I can't even stand
On
reading
top of
this,
that, Ken,
but I would read that.
when a client retains staff gross, how quickly do you and the people assigned to the attorney start working on that file?
Immediately. The
Yeah.
first thing we do is we send out powers of attorneys to the creditors to let them know that we're representing you. So
Cease and desist
so
letters, so the
phone calls
communications don't go to
the
you
phone calls
anymore.
stop.
And how do the 1-800 national debt resolution companies
They're not debt
operate?
resolution companies. They're debt settlement companies.
How do they operate?
There's, I don't want
some.
I think most of it, in my opinion, are scams. What they do is, first of all, the person who's talking to you on the phone is a salesperson. Their job is to sell you so that they get a quick commission based upon whatever you've agreed to do. And they make it sound like that this national program that you're signing up for, and it's an automated process, and you're going to pay X percentage over 2 or 4 or 5 years.
Well, most of those
and then you're
programs that they
completely
talk
done.
about are 4-year programs. And here's the reality. You can't get 4 years away from your credit card debt without something bad happening. You have to, we can get you, when we analyze the program, we look at it to see if we can get it done inside of 24 months.
Yeah,
That is a key factor.
That's that our rule is 24 months. So we'll get to it in a second. But the other thing on debt settlement charges between 15 and 18% of the debt, plus monthly service fees to hold on to your money. We don't hold on to your money, and if we do hold on to your money as a courtesy for you, we certainly don't charge you to do that. But it's not part of our program, and 15 to 18% is too much money to pay for the stuff to do, and we defend the lawsuits. They don't. But I want the number out there, not to talk about so much as what we do, as to put out what the costs are, because that's the thing that you have to analyze costs.
So we got $40,000.
$40,000 to settle the credit card debt.
Legal fee of $10,625.
Would be $10,625. So the total cost to settle the debt, based upon our analysis, would be $50,625.
But remember that Chapter 13 was $129,000.
Now, what I then do is remember what our DMI was. The amount that we deem that we have available to pay on those credit cards, based upon the analysis of not stopping to pay, is $21.58 a month.
Right.
So you divide that by the $50,625, it comes to 23 months. That indicates it's within the THAV gross rule.
So hold on. So let's take practically from the Rick and Sandy's perspective. At $21.58, they're no longer going negative every month. They're able to exist on a going forward basis.
They've covered their expenses.
They've taken now that same $21.58 and they stop paying the credit cards, and they're able to develop their war chest to fund this venture.
Right, and we're going to settle that credit card debt, and when it's done and when it's over with, then they're going to take the $21.58 and they're going to put it in the bank every month, and they're going to earn interest on it, and they're going to save that money for retirement. That's why the faster we get them out of the debt, the sooner they start saving the money. That's why this program is 23 months versus 60. We'll be back after the break. There's more.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP. It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. All right, so we're in segment 3 of the Hudson family case study. We're on Rick and Sandy, and we're analyzing their cost of doing debt resolution. And we concluded that they can settle this debt in the 23-month window. And we said 24 months is our rule. Now, if you go online and you look up the rule, you're not going to see the 24-month rule. The 24-month rule is what we call the Thav Gross rule for debt resolution. Where did it come from? It came from me. When we analyzed the program and decided, does this make sense? What is the timeline and the parameter we want to set when we analyze whether this is a viable, good strategy? And even if you go to the Financial Crisis Analyzer, that 24-month period is built into the analyzer in terms of making an analysis as to whether debt resolution is a good thing. Because you can't go at these programs, if you're going to go at it for 11 years, you're better off doing a Chapter 13. Beyond 24 months, there's too many lawsuits, too much aggravation, too much nuisance, too much expense to make it worthwhile. It's not an absolute rule. You could go 26 months.
It's more of a goal.
But if it's 36 months or 48 months, we say it's not the outcome. Then you're usually better off in a Chapter 13. There's usually a better solution.
That's because you would have certainty through the 13, and you would have less of the uncertainty.
Correct. Now, the next thing you have to ask when it comes to debt resolution or in debt settlement is, are there tax consequences? Because this is also a cost if the answer is yes. Now, the basic rule, here's the rules. If you get a settlement with a credit card company and with any financial institution and they cancel a portion of your debt, they will issue you at the end of the year a 1099-C, which is cancellation of indebtedness. Under IRS rules, that is income to you unless you meet an exception. The exception is called the insolvency rule. The insolvency rule says if your liabilities exceed your assets before the cancellation of indebtedness and after, then there is no tax consequence. If the cancellation of indebtedness takes you from negative, where your liabilities exceed your assets, to positive, where your assets exceed your liabilities, then the cancellation of indebtedness to that extent is taxable and you must pay the tax. It's not a ambiguous issue. It's not one that if you're talking to someone saying, well, maybe, maybe not. It's something that needs to be analyzed and addressed. And if there's a tax cost, you have to look at it and say, should I still do the program, or is it costing me out of the program?
Now, Ken,
you have to do the analysis.
And it has to be a case-by-case basis that you're never going to get with a 1-800 company because they don't know anything about the tax consequences.
Absolutely.
Let me give you a quick example. It may very well be that there's a ton of carry loss forwards that these guys have from something that happened in the past, and that actual tax recognition is minimized. We don't know.
Worse than that, they're not going to do the analysis because they don't want to tell you about it, because if there's an additional cost, that goes against the idea of them making the sale, and they're not looking out for you. They don't care about you. They care about making the sale.
Now, Brian,
we
quickly,
care about success.
Real quickly,
and you have to look at the cost.
Because we're analyzing a Chapter 13 versus a debt
I want to do the
settlement,
insolvency analysis
but,
here, though.
But what would be the tax ramifications in 13 in bankruptcy?
There are no tax ramifications for debt that's been canceled or settled. In this case, remember, these folks are going to pay back almost every penny on the dollar. But
in
let's
Chapter 13.
in the
Can
Chapter
I go
13.
through the analysis?
But let's
please?
just make the assumption, just for this
We're
discussion,
out of time.
that they're going to pay back 5 cents on the dollar and $120,000 is forgiven in a Chapter 13, because
That's a
that could
good-
happen.
that's a
That
good
makes
deal.
Chapter 13 the better decision, and there's no tax ramifications for it. With
And
regard
if
to
we analyze this and all of a sudden they're going to pay $100,000 in taxes and $50,000 to settle the debt, then Chapter 13 would be a better outcome as well. Here's the analysis for Rick and Sandy. Their 401ks, because assets include your retirement money for insolvency purpose, are $250,000. Their house is underwater by 25, so I've just netted it that it's negative 25,000. Their credit card debt is negative 125,000. Right now, today, before they cancel any debt, they're positive. Their assets still exceed their liabilities by 125,000. The conclusion is, for Rick and Sandy, any canceled debt is going to be taxable. It's not ambiguous. It's like, is it a bummer? Yeah, we'd rather not have it be taxable, but you have to analyze it and then say, what's the cost?
So
now,
where do they come out then?
they're going to have $85,000 of canceled debt. Their tax bracket, let's assume on a progressive tax scale, their marginal tax bracket for additional income is going to be 25%. The tax cost of settling this debt is going to be $21,250.
So their total costs are going to be $40,000 to settle the debt, $10,625 in attorney's fees,
for a total of $50,625.
and $21,250 in tax debt, totaling $71,875 worth of expended money out of their pocket to get rid of $125,000 in credit card debt.
And if they did a Chapter 13, we concluded it would cost them $129,000.
That's correct.
So now, take the $71,785, divide that by $21,558. That gets them out of it in 33 months.
Well, but doesn't that violate your 24-month rule?
No, the 24-month is to settle the credit card debt because you don't want to get sued by the credit card companies that have too many lawsuits. You have time to pay the taxes if you need it. You can get up to 60 months to pay a tax liability under $50,000 to the government by basically filling out a form and requesting.
And with direct deposit, not even being subject to a tax lien.
and
Well,
no
no,
tax lien.
you did misspeak. You mean 72 months for the taxes, 60 months if we were going into a Chapter 13 to deal with
Right,
the
I
taxes.
said 60, no, 72 months. You're out of
So,
6
but
years.
in this case, because it's 33 months, which is basically, it allows them to pay the ongoing tax, the tax that came due after the debt settled, in the tax year it comes due. So they're going to minimize their penalties and interest to the IRS.
It comes down to this. In 33 months, they're done, and then the 2158 starts being saved. But before we get to that, let's just ask the question, or we'll do it when we get back from the break. But what facts could make the tax consequences not exist? I can give them to you real quick. If they didn't have the $250,000 in their 401k, they would be underwater. If you canceled the debt then, they'd have zero tax consequences. Alternatively, if they were $250,000 underwater in their house, there would be no tax consequences. But in this case for Rick and Sandy, we have to take into account the taxes. We'll be back after the break.
It's devastating. The effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Fav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. We're going to give you the summary of Rick and Sandy's situation in a minute, but let me do announcements. We've got upcoming seminars, and this show is taping in advance of airing on TV, so I'm going to announce a seminar, and you're going to say, well, it's already past that date, but there's two dates. Tuesday, January 13th, coming up, fresh start for 2015. Tuesday, February 24th, it's time to end debt now. Both of these seminars cover the issues we're talking about today in the last couple of weeks: house underwater, credit card debt, tax problems, how to preserve future income, what your options are to get out of debt fast. The sooner you're out of debt, the sooner you're saving for retirement. Sign up for that at thavgross.com or lawandreality.com. They are on Tuesday, January 13th or Tuesday, February 24th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at our offices in Bingham Farms. We also have a seminar coming up, 60 plus, what you and your parents need to know and plan. It's with Pat Simasco from Simasco Law, regular on the show, sponsor as well, elder law expert. Pat and I are going to do a seminar exploring the Medicaid options, what you need to do when you're 60 plus, how do you handle the problems with your parents, with yourself, so that all of their assets don't end up going to the nursing home if that need arises. I don't know why David's making funny faces at me. The seminar is from 10 to 11:30 in the morning. There are two dates and two locations: January 29th at our offices in Bingham Farms, and on Wednesday, February 11th at the Concord Inn in Clinton Township. Sign up for the seminars, thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or the old-fashioned way, call 888-235-HELP. We email you or mail. We actually don't email you. We mail you tickets to the seminars. Free reports: Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Simasco, ssifreereport.com. Reg X Special Report: The Hidden Secrets on How to Obtain a Loan Modification or Stop Foreclosure, written by myself, regxhomesaver.com. Also check out the Financial Crisis Analyzer on the Law and Reality website. I want to thank our sponsors, Thav Gross and Simasco Law. Now, back to Rick and Sandy. We analyzed it, and we came up with the conclusion they've got to pay the taxes. It's going to cost them $71,000 to get out of this debt. They're not eligible for Chapter 13, or they're not eligible for Chapter 7. Chapter 13 is going to cost them $129,000 over 60 months. This is going to cost them $71,000 over 33 months. Is it a good deal?
Well,
here's the answer.
You can say, hey, it's a good deal just based on that spread, because 72 is less than 130.
Correct.
But is there more?
There is more.
What is it?
Well, I like that. Is there more? This is the biggest point. It's the credit card trap. If Rick and Sandy don't do this, they're going to continue making their minimum payments on the credit card and struggling, even though they make $145,000 a year of income. They're going to continue struggling and trying to pay this credit card debt off for the rest of their lives. They'll never get it paid off, because what happens when you're using all of your available excess cash to pay the minimum payments on credit cards? The balances on the credit cards go down a little bit every month, but then you have to buy something. You don't have any cash in the bank because it's all going to the credit card companies, so you charge it. So the balances on the credit cards never go down. You end up paying 29% interest for the rest of your life, and you end up giving all of your retirement away to the credit card industry. It's financial cancer. It's the worst possible thing. So Rick and Sandy have to do this. Now, they could opt for a Chapter 13, but it's going to cost them more money. Now, why is it a great deal? Because at the end of 33 months, they will start saving $2,158 a month.
Where would they be in 10 years?
In 10 years, at 7% tax deferred, they're putting it back into their 401ks, their 401k plans. That money is worth $373,519.
Where would they be in 20 years?
In 20 years, same 7% growth, $1,124,163.
So even if they took half of that additional disposable monthly income, they'd have roughly half a million dollars, and they'd have much more quality of life. But there's a bigger thing. There's a bigger benefit, and I think it's one of the best benefits is the moment that they finish the meeting with you or Brian or whoever, what other attorney they're talking to at our office, and they understand and they elect the plan, they're going to be able to put their head on their pillow at night and sleep. And there's a quality of life component to that is much more than just finances.
I mean, the greatest thing is, here you have a couple that's making $150,000 a year, and they're walking in saying, I'm broke, I have no disposable money. At least I have got some money in a 401k, but they're going nowhere.
Well,
this
is a very common situation where it's not, the listeners should realize that $150,000 a year of income is not a tremendous amount of money. A lot of people will say it is a tremendous amount of money, but this is not an unusual situation. These people have kids. They're going to be trying to put them through college. There's all sorts of expenses in their future that they need to get rid of this burden that is taking them down, as David used, sinking them in the Titanic.
Reducing them to the lower level, but they're not already at the bottom of the sea, I think, was what we finally resolved in a couple
one of the
shows
concerns
ago.
one of the concerns that people have, though,
certainly
is that, well, how is this going to affect my credit too? And I want our listeners to understand that credit scores rehabilitate themselves. This is not a permanent mark on your record, so to speak. It will not follow you forever. You could
takes about a year and a half.
You could run your credit score down to 500 and have it back up to 750.
Your credit score is your pay history, your total amount of debt. That's 60% of your score. If you got $125,000 of credit card debt, that's a negative on your credit score in and of itself. When you get rid of the debt, that's a positive. The credit score comes back. When you're 65, when you're 80 years old, your credit score is not going to matter. Having cash in the bank does. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.